Hello and welcome to the Inner Gamer On. My name is Brett Yanofsky.
I'm Devin DeRee.
And I'm Austin Morales.
I'm Luis Gonzalez.
Today, we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of cooperative video games. Because there's a lot of co-op games coming out, such as we just had Sea of Thieves come out, which we talked about earlier in this podcast. If you listen to the podcast, if you didn't, make sure you go to theinnergamer.net. Check it out if you're watching on video. We also have Way Out. We have Far Cry 5 coming out this week. We have a bunch of just cooperative games that are coming out. We've been really excited about this because, you know, co-op games, we just haven't had many of them in a while. However, can it all be good? That's the real question. Now that we're getting into these games and experiencing them for the first time in a while, getting our feet wet in the cooperative gaming experience, we're starting to see some good things and then some bad things. So we're going to go through each of those, starting with the good. So let's talk about some good first. With cooperative games, obviously, you can play with your friends. Like, that's number one.
Yeah.
Like, how awesome is that, right?
It was like a year ago. We're like, where's all the co-op games? There's no co-op games.
Yeah. And now we have them, and they're here. And, like, being able to sync up with your friends and jump in and be like, hey, let's play for 3 hours right now and knock through this game. Like, I love that experience. And being able to feel like co-op games are starting to make us feel more important as an extra player in the game. Whereas back in Halo, when you were playing 2-player co-op or whatever, the cinematic was that character. And then if you were the second player, you just had to sit there and watch your friend going through the cinematic. And you were just like, okay, I'm just this fly on the wall that's chilling
extra
there.
Halo Chief.
Yeah.
Master Chief.
Extra Halo Chief.
Extra chief.
And that sucked. Now, with like games like, Borderlands, we have that where you are actually one of 4 actual characters that exist in the world. You can pick which character you are, all that stuff. That's really awesome. In Sea of Thieves, you can literally be the character you want to be. You can become the pirate you want. Without you can't create your character.
You can't create a character in that.
Which that was really surprising to me. We didn't talk about that earlier, but I was really shocked about that. And that you were
roll the die
when you open.
I know
it's like you randomly.
It's all random.
It's a random dice generation of a character that you pick from. That was a really strange move on their part. So I feel like just put even something simple like change from 8 different hairstyles, change from 8 different faces. Like just having that would give me some sense of creating my identity
right
as a player.
Right.
But what are some things about co-op games today that you guys find to be really positive that is different from, say, 5 years ago that they've done better?
That's a lot to divulge out.
I know.
No,
It's tense.
My biggest complaint with co-op games up until I'd say probably within the last just few years is that your experience has always been very first player focus, with the second player being just 2-dimensional addition onto it. What games like Borderlands have done better is incorporating everybody into it, but it is still very faceless. What I mean by that is, for instance, a lot of the dialogue revolves around, you don't say Zero or you don't say Ajax, and you don't say any of that. It's just Vault Hunter.
Right.
So it's still kind of faceless in a way. It still feels very tacked on, not like these 2 people are supposed to be actually working together as far as the story goes, or not even just 2 people, the cooperative 2 to 4 people, however many it is that you have in your party. And I think that's, I would really like to see the industry move towards that. We kind of do see that with games like Lernian Studios of
Divinity.
Yeah, where your whole party is super involved with how each character interacts with NPCs completely differently. There's completely different dialogue trees for each different character and how they interact and what their stats are kind of stacked up as. So that's, to me, that's one that really executes that cooperative.
Oh, that's a great example.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you could mix and match and have a different story every time.
Every time.
That's like the best co-op ever.
It is. It is the best. I don't have a PC to play it, but I know it is the best.
If only.
It'll come to console one day.
It will.
Or I'll just get a PC
That'll
one
work
day.
out.
Who the hell knows?
Oh, I think that'd be a good console game. Actually, I think that would play really well on console. Yeah, and like looking at games like A Way Out that just came out. That game, although we haven't reviewed it yet, but like I think there are some flaws with it. I've heard some stories of bad dialogue and things of that nature that aren't as solid. But what I think is really good on that game is that you are playing with a friend, and you both have very distinct, defined roles in this game. And as you're playing through the game, you're going through different moments. Like one player is playing through gameplay while the other player is watching a cinematic. And I think that's an interesting way to have your friend play through a game with you and feel like you actually are creating your own story in this world that you're in. And I mean, that's cool. Like like I said, there are some negatives to that game, but like as a core cooperative gameplay experience, it's cool that they're actually putting some time into seeing, okay, you are one player, you are another player. How are those two players going to play out in this world and feel like they're both putting in a lot of effort into progressing the story along? So that's good to see. And I'm glad that there's developers that are starting to think about that stuff as time goes on. Whereas other games like Ghost Recon Wildlands or whatever, where you are a player in this world, and like when they sold the game, it was going to be a very, everybody has a role to play out. Like, say you're attacking a base or whatever, and you're like, okay, these two guys are going to go do this, these two guys are going to do that. We're going to attack it, and we're going to be very tactical in the way that we approach this combat scenario or whatever. But then when you actually got into the game, it was basically like a sandbox exploration game. And there wasn't really, I didn't feel that necessity to play in that tactical kind of style in the game like I wanted to. I don't know. I mean, you played more of it, I think, Devin, than any of us have. Like, did you get that feeling from that game?
It just really turned into, if you had multiple people, it just turned into, hey, how many people can help me tag enemies so that we know where they're at? And then, stealthily take out, Tango in the courtyard. But it didn't really have any kind of major impact. It was, again, that one was all very faceless, very two-dimensional, and just very, I'm another grunt soldier who's been dropped into this setting. So
it's really sad because sandbox co-op seems like it'd be a lot of fun.
It
if
could
done right.
be. Well, and the idea, and the idea for it is there, but man, God, the execution thus far has just been that
right.
Not good.
I don't even think you need a story. I mean, I think on surface or face value, like I think it's a good idea, just obviously executed wrong. So it was like AI and some mechanics weren't just fully evolved for that. But I think Sea of Thieves is a really good example of something done right, where it requires you. That's also the negative part about it. It requires you to play with your friends, but there's enough there for you guys to come and create your own stories. I think that's what's great about co-op, is that you and your friend can have different moments with each other and tell that to other people as well. Yeah. So like, did you experience this? Did you experience that? And Sea of Thieves allows you to have completely different moments from every playthrough with different friends. You're literally creating your own story, opposed to just following a linear story, which is cool too. Like when I had a lot of fun with Travis playing Halo, we had many moments where it's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah. I wonder how they go about figuring out what those situations are like what defines moments like that, because there are some games that are built around that idea of having when we were talking about a couple weeks ago, The Division, and I think you were saying that it should have those moments, like it's a game built for that, but it didn't really deliver on that. You felt like it was kind of a repetitive, like when you got into the what was the PvP area, the dark zone, like there wasn't that
zone,
feeling of those story moments that you get really excited about when you're playing games like Battlefield, or when you're playing a game like in Sea of Thieves. And I don't know what it is that defines those moments. Like, I mean, it's random encounters for sure, but like those have to somehow be created in some form. Like I think in Sea of Thieves, I think one thing that'll make it successful if they do something like in Destiny, where they have these public events, that take place that are things that you don't expect to come, but will randomly like open up into the world. So you're like on a destination, you're on a voyage to go collect this treasure, and all of a sudden, like the Kraken that they have, hopefully they have more things like that where it derails you from what you're doing and puts you into another part that you didn't know. Like you had a path from point A to point B, and that path went 5 different directions to lead to point B.
Well, and to kind of go on that point, like one of the things I think that's supposed to make a good co-op game really excel and really successful and really enjoyable, it really, for me, you've really got to fill a couple of different buckets of requirements to make it good. One of which has got to be the world has got to be something that you are invested in.
Yeah.
The one that like you and your buddies are going to enjoy. I mean, I'll give a great example. When I did have a PC for a very brief time, Luis and I played a lot of Don't Starve together.
Yeah.
And I mean, man, between Luis and I trying to like find grass and rocks and food and flowers and whatever the hell else it was we were trying to get, like that world, while it's simple, it was still enriched enough to where me and him were like, man, constantly just communicating back and forth. Oh my God, we need to find more grass, quick, get more grass. And that brought out that excitement, that brought out that fun, that cooperative edge of like, oh, I found a whole batch over here, hurry, get over here real quick. That's one of those buckets, I think. And I think that a lot of video games fall short of filling that a lot.
I think that's a fantastic point. It's the biggest reason why games like Destiny only had me for so long, because the world wasn't changing. It didn't feel lived in or alive. Something like Don't Starve, at least it changes, That's why I think roguelikes have the appeal that they have. And although they may not be cooperative per se, Deep Rock is technically a procedurally generated cooperative game, and that changes from moment to moment. So that's why I think games like that work. But being a world that's lived in, I think definitely helps. Don't Starve being one of them too.
Yeah,
because there's plenty of times when we'd be getting a couple of days down, and Louis going, Devin, you better get a weapon quick because we are about to get monsters. And I was like, oh shit, I don't have any. I have this stick that I can set on fire,
and I got a flower. I think
I don't know if I can do it.
A flower.
Gosh.
I think another one of those buckets has to be the characters. Those characters have to be characters that we play for a reason. Now, again, kind of going off something like Don't Starve, yes, there's different characters that you can play, and they all contribute a different amount of special perks and whatnot. But all in all, they're kind of simple. They're all trying to do the same thing. Don't die. But to me, a really great example of this was Two Brothers.
Oh,
brothers.
Yeah,
Brothers.
Yeah.
Brothers. A Tale of Two Sons.
A Tale of Two Sons. Thank you.
Yeah.
That man, like the gameplay was simple, the story was there, but it really came down to those two brothers, those characters.
Yeah.
You endeared yourselves to them. And I kind of spoke on this in my latest article about indie developers kind of taking a really big charge on character development, but that's where I see a lot of failures in cooperative games, is that the characters we just don't give a shit about. And yes, they're big and they're flashy. Perfect example that Luis brought up just now is Destiny. It's like, oh, yeah, you're the guardian, and that's the biggest emphasis. You're the guardian of the tower. You're the guardian. And then there's like, okay, that's great. Thank you for calling me the guardian, but there's 50 other
Everyone's a special
fucking guardian behind me.
Yeah.
When everyone's special, no one is. And God, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
And kind of the same thing for as much as I love it. That's the same for Borderlands 2 is, yeah, I'm the Vault Hunter Zero because that was my favorite character to play. And I loved getting all my sniper rifles all big and badass and getting all my perks to make sure that my sniper rifle did all this amazing damage. And I was like, I'm Zero, the stealthy assassin. Hey, Vault Hunter. Motherfucker, I'm more than that. And you got little snippets of character stuff here and there, but it wasn't enough to really make you invested that way. And I think really cooperative games need to touch on that more. Like, yes, we have a big world that we're exploring, or there's a story or mission we're trying to narratively progress, but if those characters aren't there, I don't give a damn. I don't care.
Yeah.
I need to have characters I can identify with, I care about. I feel like I am truly I'm telling the story that I want to tell through them.
So I'm going back to ODST where, you had 4 different, well, I mean, I guess it was just co-op. You couldn't do more than 4.
Oh,
but
man.
But like, it's like I want to be, you want to be one of these characters.
Yeah.
Like
ODST
I want to be
did
the
a
big dude, or I want to be the sniper.
ODST nailed it with that squad.
Right.
So good.
And I guess looking at kind of Battlefield and Bad Company, to just kind of give a good example, is like some of those guys like you really wanted to be, especially in multiplayer. It wasn't the same guys, but it's like, I want to be that heavy dude. Like, big artillery is my kind of guy. So I usually they have a unique look to match their loadout that they carry,
Yeah.
Sniper's going to be slim and stealthy looking. It's like, I want to be that kind of person.
What do you think about games like Warhammer Vermintide that just came out, and like you have 4 distinct classes you can choose from in that, or even Deep Rock Galactic, like you have these 4 different types of classes. Do you think that's it? Like, well, Devin, from your perspective, talking about the characters and stuff like that, do you think that's enough to make you feel? I mean, those aren't characters that have a story, but they give you a sense of identity.
But they do have a story,
and they do, and that actually brings me to kind of like that third bucket that I was going to mention is the environment or the world at which you're playing. And to me, Vermintide really feels 2 buckets great: is the individual characters / the environment, because it's not always so much about the individual characters, because in the Warhammer universe or in the Warhammer mythos, whether it's the fantasy Warhammer or the futuristic Warhammer, both of these, it's millions and millions of people fighting against the oncoming chaos and onslaught. And you're just one individual. You're not going to make a difference. You're going to die, and your story's going to die with you. But it's still told in such an epic way that you do care about those individual characters via the environment that you're in. Like, everybody knows the pyromancers are absolutely insane, and they cast magic that makes them explode. And yeah, that's pretty badass. That's pretty bitchin'.
I mean, yeah, I hear that and I'm like, I want to know more.
I want to know more.
What the heck?
I want to know more about them. And you kind of get that a little bit subtly through some of the dialogue.
Right.
And I mean, hell, Vermintide 1 was basically 4 people who absolutely despise each other, and then by the end of the game, kind of like each other. Kinda.
Yeah.
There's enough there to be interesting enough to keep you going to like what's going to happen next. Because they say small little things as you go throughout the levels. And and then, they add a little dialogue in there to help generate that camaraderie between the team. And it's just like, oh, yeah, because the elf doesn't like the dwarf.
Yeah.
It makes fun of the dwarf, and the dwarf's making fun of the elf.
And like hell, even a game like Overwatch does a great job of telling that story via environment, because certain characters on certain levels,
Oh yeah.
that's where it's at.
right.
That's where it's at.
Like, this is my hometown we're fighting.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah. Oh gosh, why this place carries bad memories. Why? I died here. Oh.
Or Anna and Reinhardt.
Oh man, it's
great.
Oh.
It's great.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about telling a story via the environment with your cooperative play, because it's all about these other characters, and those characters you choose have different dialogues with each other when they come to those certain levels. So, that balancing those 3 buckets is hard, and some of the good ones, you've got like Borderlands 2, and maybe A Way Out's dialogue isn't great, but hopefully the environment maybe picks it up where it needs to.
Yeah.
In regards to that, but. Ghost Recon Wildlands fucked it all up.
Yeah.
Not surprised.
Fuck it,
Ubisoft.
No. I want to pivot the conversation a little bit and talk about like scheduling and things like that, because co-op games, you have to have a friend, at least one, to play with. And
You don't have to.
You don't.
Well, some do, some don't.
I mean, if you're playing co-op, it's meant to be with like a I mean, you're,
I guess I'm just talking in general. Like, if I played Halo, I could just play Halo, but
yeah,
I can't have it
yeah.
co-op.
Right, yeah. Ones that are like defined as a
Right.
cooperative game. That's like a 4-player, like, hey, this is a 2-player co-op game, 4-player, whatever. Like, in that, there's, I'm going to give 2 examples. So one, Far Cry 5 coming out, you can play with a friend, and you can play the entire game cooperatively. I think that's awesome. However, when you start that game, it is a very defined story that you're going through, and it could be 8, 10. I mean, I'm guessing this game's gonna be like 15 hours or something like that. Like, that's 15 hours that you and your friend have to sync up your times to make sure that you can have that happen.
Right.
That's a lot of time commitment and dedication. Right. Whereas games like Deep Rock Galactic and the one we just talked about that I'm blanking on, Vermintide, yeah, that doesn't require that. It's like a 30-minute time period that you span out. There's stories within that experience, but it's not something that you have to keep coming back to finish that story arc.
Right.
It's that. So
yeah,
that's an issue I see with a lot of co-op games right now, is that if they don't have those bite-sized chunks that you can experience, then it's kind of set up for disaster at the onset in a way. I mean, maybe not. I mean, some people, everybody's different. Like me as like a casual gamer,
I see what you're saying.
Like I can't dedicate. It's going to be, I mean, we could be playing this game for like, 6 months to actually finish the game. As I remember when you
talking about
played
D&D?
Borderlands 2. Yeah, that's it. When me and you played Borderlands 2, like that took us a long time to finish.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, D&D, freaking D&D, man. Like still
the first couch
story.
co-op.
You gotta get on that. Yeah. So that's an issue that I see a lot, that it's like a negative of these games. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on that?
Having the friend element, because obviously, like, when you think about playing a cooperative game, that's immediately what you think of is, oh, I want my friend to experience this with me. To me, it's not even the scheduling lining up. To me, it's also that you have to have a friend who has the same interest in games that you do. And not only that, the same kind of patience in certain games that you do. Because I have a lot of friends who love playing like cooperative games or cooperative shooters or whatever. But anytime you get into a cooperative fantasy role-playing kind of setting where they're like, oh my God, I've got to start at level 1. And oh my God, I have to go through all this loot. And oh my God, I've got to go through a spreadsheet of gear. I'm out.
Talking about Brett?
I was about to say
It's basically Brett.
I mean, no, but yeah.
Yeah. Admit it.
I know.
Admit it.
Yeah.
Well, you hell, Luis, you've been talking about games cooperative, like Roller Coaster Tycoon,
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah, the open Roller Coaster Tycoon 2 open, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, I love that aspect of multiplayer co-op games. Now you can play basically any game co-op if you look for anything online. Red Alert, Roller Coaster Tycoon. You can play like all the Halos now online co-op. Like, it's freaking amazing, dude.
yeah, and that at least we're seeing an avenue where some of those games are opening up to be co-op, because we do need it. But that is a difficulty in itself, is finding somebody who wants to share that kind of same experience with you. Because I don't know how many times some of my other friends, outside of this circle here, who were like, oh man, Devin, we would love to play with you, but we're only playing Destiny 2. And I'm like, there's so much more.
I know.
So I'm like, the free game of the month right now is Bloodborne. Get it, because we can all play it together. Well, we don't really know. We don't know.
Well, yeah. That's another interesting thing. I find it so fascinating how there's so many different types of gamers out there. Like my coworkers that I work with, they love video games. They play a ton of video games, but they are a one game person. Like, they're going to sit down and play that one game. They're going to play that game until it can't be played anymore. And then they move on to the next game. And like, to get them to like jump into playing 2 games at a period of time is like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
And like,
I still have friends who will not play online with me because they're like, I'm still playing Monster Hunter right now.
Gosh, I need to get back into that.
No, I'm like, it was a great game. I get it. I like Monster Hunter, but we can play some other stuff. We've got some great options over here. Nah.
Yeah.
Was it? I think. Fine. Like I said earlier, a year ago, we were like, we're all the co-op games. We want more co-op, and now we have them, and it's just like, as much as I want my friend to come over and have this real experience with me, because I remember like playing with Travis, with Halo or any of the Halos, like we're in our seats and they're like a really tense moment, yelling at each other. Even if we're doing a LAN party or something like that, like, you know, there's that energy there. But now I'm just out of convenience. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll get online. I'll meet you on Discord and we'll play this, you know, online.
Yeah.
It's just so much easier than like bring your computer over. But it's still cool, you know, when that happens.
I mean, it's still good co-op. It's still, I mean, playing online still has that excitement and everything. I do miss being able to like sit next to the other person.
Right.
We don't do that as much as we used to, but there's still room for that.
Right.
That's why you come to our inner gamer meetups, because you can do that with your friends
and get drunk and yell at each other.
And you don't have to get drunk, but you can if you want to, because there is beer available.
It's required. Get drunk. No, I'm just kidding.
Something else I want to mention is so like if you don't have friends to play with, like one thing about like if you buy a game that is dedicated co-op, like you need a friend to play with, otherwise that game just sits there and collects dust. But I think it would be interesting if developers would explore, and I don't know if this is something that would make it worthwhile, but like having some kind of matchmaking system where you can connect with players. Like say you want to play A Way Out, or if you want to play Far Cry 5.
I think A Way Out actually has a
been
matchmaking.
able to connect to somebody else. It might. I'm
pretty sure it does. I could be wrong.
And that is all dependent on that kind of game and its gameplay.
Yeah, because you don't want to do that with like be connected to somebody that's like super shitty.
Perfect example, playing Destiny 2 early on and trying to do matchmaking for certain strikes, and it was myself and my buddy JP, and some asshole is just being a major asshole during the strike. So out of spite, we get to the end portion, and we are just gonna dance the whole time that he's fighting the boss by himself because he was a fuckface.
Wow.
And that's just the risk you take sometimes when you have the random match, and I hate that it comes down to that, because yes, I want random matchmaking is great. I think it's great to play randomly with somebody in the community, but when you play with somebody who's like, oh, I'm just going to speed run this whole level and not go through like the subtle nuances of like certain areas, or I'm just gonna blast through this mission really quickly because, you know, I'm only in it for the end game to get to this one spot to get this certain piece, and I'll just play with you just because I have to have you there. Damn, dude, come on! Some of us are enjoying the game,
right?
And that is a struggle.
No, I agree. Yeah. I'm always hesitant to do matchmaking. Like in Deep Rock Galactic, you can do that. They have matchmaking.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk to those people.
I don't want to talk to you.
I mean, I don't know who they are. You know?
I don't want to meet somebody today. I just want to do my own thing.
I mean, I'm always down to meeting somebody, but it's just so random. You know, there's just no. Was it like Halo 5 where you could like really put in like, oh, I want people who talk a lot. I want people who are good teammates. You know, like you could actually kind of customize that stuff. But I was like, does this even work? I don't know. Random tangent.
It is difficult. Cool. Well, I think we can wrap that up. What do you guys think?
Luis, you have anything you want to add to all that stuff?
Nope. Co-op games are great. I like to play them when I can. That's just about it, man.
Right. Yeah.
I will say, like, the only thing I'm waiting on is like a day when I get to play Champions of Norath again with me and 3 buddies. That's what I want.
There you go. Well, with that,
no one here knows what that game is.
I don't
know what it is either.
Cool. Well, that's going to wrap it up, everybody. Thank you all for listening. If you have any thoughts on co-op games, the good side of things, the bad side of things, all of that, let us know in the comments down below. We would love to hear your insight on cooperative games.
I'm sure some of those comments, shut up, Devin, you don't know what you're talking about.
I know, right?
That's fair.
That's going to be me.
But head on over to theinnergamer.net for our full podcast episode for our weekly game impressions and top headlines of the week.
That's one of me doing an interview. Here's one of all of us. We'll mix some cool
things.
Brett's also right here.
Like this video, subscribe, keep up with all the latest video game news and opinions that you care about right here on The Inner Gamer.